Hey everybody, welcome back to Markets for Millennials. And because I've been doing episodes in the past on GBTC, and a lot of people are wondering whether or not we're going to get a spot Bitcoin ETF at some point, I thought I would check in with the video and just take a look at some price action on GBTC among other things, and take a look at the question of, are we going to get the ETF? And this update is timely. Here we are on January 31st because we are actually awaiting a few decisions as early as tomorrow on the Bitwise, I think which one is this? Bitwise Bitcoin ETP Trust. And so this is kind of a big one, we know. If I go take a look at some price action here, we know Bitwise has the Bitwise 10 Crypto Index Fund, which, as you can see, after its initial spike up, has come off quite a bit ever since then, trading at almost as low as it ever has been. So we know that they have some funds. And then obviously the really well-known one in the US is GBTC. It's the OTC traded fund by Grayscale. And a lot of people have been following the work that I've done on GBTC, and just want to check in for a minute on the price action, specifically of GBTC, just to kind of give us an idea of what's going on. So overall, if we go back to the normal Bitcoin chart, we've got obviously this long consolidation. A lot of people have been calling top either October or November. A lot of people saying we're in a bear market. Over the last week and a half or so, we've actually seen some changes in terms of the relative strength of Bitcoin, and even this morning, before I pulled that up, even this morning we were trading down. A lot of people saying, "Here we go on the way to the downside," and we still could, but we've recovered since then, and we're positive on the day, more than making up for the decline yesterday. So that's just some situational awareness. And then if we look here at the RSI, let me just do it this way. This is on the daily chart. A lot of people like to do this. This is not something I normally do, but I'm just showing you what to see here. If you create a trend line using the RSI, then you can see that we had a breakout, a retest, and we're actually resuming off on the RSI. So relative strength is improving. It doesn't mean that we're going to have a huge move up right now in the price. But I just wanted to show you that, just to kind of give you some context for what's happening in Bitcoin in general. Now going back to the GBTC chart, we've been following essentially the same structure, just steadily downward. It's a little bit more steep, I think, than the normal Bitcoin chart. A lot of people making a big deal about the continual decline of the NAV discount. So in terms of price action, looking for the same thing on GBTC as we are on Bitcoin, and that is to get the breakout of this trend line to the upside. So that's something that everybody's watching for in terms of price action, at least the first sign of repair happening. And so looking for the same thing here. But obviously, like I said, GBTC, even with the NAV, whether at discount as it is now, or if it ever, and it may never go back to premium, especially if we do get an ETF approval, it may not ever go back to positive. It may just come to break even. Even if that's the case, GBTC is generally going to follow Bitcoin. And there's not really, you can't really complain. I mean, even if GBTC stays at negative 25% or negative 30%, if Bitcoin goes to 100,000, I mean, we're looking at GBTC going into the 70 around $70, which is definitely far above where it is right now. So can't get too greedy, and I know I've talked about that before, but anyway, I've been looking into this quite a bit. I posted this on Twitter recently, where this little paragraph that I posted comes from a report on a recent decline of the SEC for approval for an ETF. And obviously you can see over here on the right side I'm being a little facetious, I guess, or a little trying to challenge a little bit the people at Grayscale, because they've been noticeably silent outside of when they first announced that they were trying to once again get ETF approval. We haven't really heard anything from them, and they're instead spending a lot of time talking about how many assets under management they have, or talking about other projects they're looking at. But I thought this would be good to show you guys, because these are the main obstacles that Bitcoin has to get over, or that any proposed ETF has to get over. So one thing that's really interesting is this, if you follow my mouse, the wash trading rule. A lot of people have talked about how in the crypto world, the wash trading rules don't apply like they do in stocks. So I think that's something that's really interesting, that I'm interested in how Grayscale or anybody else would want to address that. Obviously, they talk about persons with dominant position in Bitcoin manipulating Bitcoin pricing. I think this is just a non-factor, because obviously, we see manipulation in basically every market, including, you've got people with really big positions that, create selling markets or create buying markets so that they can either get out or get in. So I don't think that's really a big deal. I think that's just something that they wanted to add to make the list seem longer. Hacking of the Bitcoin network and trading platforms. Obviously, anybody who's into Bitcoin now knows that at this point, trying to hack the Bitcoin network, it's never been done. And the network just keeps getting stronger the larger it gets and the more users they get and the more nodes there are. And it becomes very expensive to try to affect the Bitcoin network, and the cost benefit of trying to disrupt or hack the network is not really that great. Because even if you were to hack and gain access to the coins, a hack would obviously indicate that things would be bad, and people wouldn't trust the Bitcoin network, and everybody would sell out, and all of the financial incentive for doing it would be lost. The trading platforms, though, that is an issue. If you go into the reports, you actually see them talk quite a bit about the issues of trading platforms. So I think that is a concern, because there have been plenty of trading platforms that have been hacked. Malicious control of the Bitcoin network. I think this one is also a little bit ambiguous. I don't think that this is that big of a deal. Very similar to the hacking of the Bitcoin network. And I think that it would be pretty easy for somebody to explain how malicious control of the Bitcoin network wouldn't serve anybody well, not even the hackers or those who would maliciously control it. Trading based on material non-public information, or based on the dissemination of false and misleading information. To me, this was talking basically about manipulation, and the way that people pump or dump in various schemes. And this was a lot. This was relating to the whole manipulation thing. And again, I think this is just window dressing for them. This kind of stuff happens. Maybe not the fork part, but this kind of stuff happens in general across lots of markets. I thought this was probably the biggest issue: manipulative activity involving the purported stablecoin Tether. A lot of us know there's lots of Tether FUD out there, whether you believe that Tether is solid or not. You have to admit this has been something that people in the government and in the SEC have really been targeting. And so I think that that's probably one of the biggest issues, along with the wash trading issue. And then here, fraud and manipulation at Bitcoin trading platforms obviously goes along with the third point up here. So I share this because these are the key reasons why they've been blocking any ETFs to this point. They also talk about, they really emphasize the issue of preventing fraud and manipulation. I've seen that a lot in reading the literature. And if you're curious, if you go into the SEC's website for NYSE ARCA, then you can pull up, if you go to 2021, you can pick something like the order disapproving, right? So the Valkyrie Bitcoin Trust, they tried to get an ETF, and obviously they were declined. So you see it was disapproved. So if you were to, pick one of these, you could actually go down and find all the information about why they why they declined it. So I think you'd have to go way to the bottom, in fact. Let's see here. They are really concerned here, the requirement under Section 6B5, that it's designed to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts and practices. And so what they want is basically KYC, which is knowing your customer. They want various things where they can quickly identify people in case of manipulation or fraud. So that's kind of a big issue. So anyway, I wanted to highlight those things just to give you a backdrop. But this is really important because here we are coming up on February 1st. February 1st is the current deadline for when they have to either approve or disapprove or postpone or institute proceedings about this for the Bitwise fund. So again, this is for the specific Bitwise fund. And then we're also waiting on for Grayscale for GBTC. We're waiting for February 6th, which is actually a Sunday. Now, I'm going to go back to my, let's see, do this in real time, I'm sorry. I'm going to go back for another tweet that I posted. Today, the SEC is crickets on the Bitwise ETF. The reason why I say that is because I want you to see here, let's see, this was published December 15th. This is the Bitwise. This is the Bitwise notice about designating a longer period for action. So December 15th, they gave this ruling, and the original 45-day postponement was going to expire the 18th of December. So they gave this 3 days in advance of Bitwise. And if you notice also, they on the same day, December 15th, they also issued the extension for Grayscale, which was due to expire December 23rd, which was 8 days before. And so the reason why I posted here saying that the SEC is crickets today, because normally, as you see here, normally they issue a statement a few days before if they're going to extend the deadline. And so I think it's entirely possible that at least for Bitwise that we get a decision tomorrow. Now, I am not here to say that it's going to be approval. I don't know. It could be approval. It could be disapproval. I don't really have a clue. However, I lean, and again, I'll just full disclosure, I am invested in GBTC. Anybody who's been following my channel and my work knows that I've been invested into GBTC, and I definitely believe long-term in Bitcoin, and I believe that Grayscale will get their ETF approved eventually. I think, here's my position, I think regardless of what happens, that it doesn't really matter if Bitwise does get approval before Grayscale or not. To me, it doesn't matter if anyone gets approval before Grayscale or not, because this is going to be a waterfall, to be honest with you. As long as people understand or know the reasons for approval, like why would Bitwise or Grayscale get approval this time, but then you have Valkyrie, again, remember, getting disapproved. Why would that happen now? The reality is that if people figured it out and got everything into place in a way that the SEC would approve, like, for example, if Bitwise were to get approved tomorrow, I can almost guarantee you that Grayscale would get approved basically immediately after. And so then the question is, does it matter if somebody is first? And I think in Grayscale's situation, I don't think it matters. And the reason why is because Grayscale is really the only company, the only organization or institution that has a meaningful position already established in Bitcoin, and already has a meaningful fund that is trading at just OTC, but still trading and available in the United States. Grayscale is in the best position to get their ETF approved, and even if Bitwise, say, were to get approved first, or somebody else were to get approved first, the approval of Grayscale's fund would be almost instantaneous, relatively speaking. And because of Grayscale's position, as having all their assets under management, I don't even think I'm on the right page, but considering their assets under management, right? Again, looking at got so much junk up here. Where are we? Assets under management, boom, you can see that here in the shares outstanding, the Bitcoin per share. With all of that in mind, Grayscale is in the strongest position to have a stable fund that easily transitions over. And so I think that is why Grayscale, in my opinion, is poised to either to get approval first or to benefit the most from what I believe will be eventually a cascade of approvals. As soon as somebody gets approved, all the applications are going to come in. But I just think that Grayscale has the quickest and easiest pathway. And I think it's also interesting to note, and I don't have it up, but it's interesting to note if you go to the NYSE ARCA rulemaking archive from 2017, what you actually learn, and I'm not going to take the time to find it, but what you actually learn is that Grayscale withdrew their application. They did not technically get it disapproved. They withdrew it. It had been postponed, I think, 2 or possibly 3 times before Grayscale ended up withdrawing it. And so I think that they've been actually doing their diligence on the ETF situation, and I think they've been setting themselves up for quick approval when that time comes. Now, a lot of people are also looking at Biden talking about issuing an executive order regulating the Bitcoin space or the crypto space. A lot of people are saying we're going to have to wait for that. I'm not so certain about that. I'm not going to discount that and say no, because nobody really knows. I have no idea. But I don't think that the SEC necessarily has to wait for that. So I think as long as those other things have been taken care of, that the SEC was concerned about, then I think that's all that really matters. And that's the Grayscale disclosure. Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to come in with a quick update on that. And obviously, like, everybody is waiting in Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin could do Bitcoin things anyway, and just skyrocket out of here. And can you imagine if Bitcoin made a new all-time high in the next couple of months, how much FOMO there would be into the space? Or perhaps people would be selling once we got into the 50,000 to 55,000 range, because a lot of people think that we're going to, if you put up your fibs, a lot of people think we're going to get a dead cat bounce into the 0.5 retrace, or in maybe the 618 retrace. So a lot of people are watching for that. So I think a lot of people are looking for news now, positive news, to basically galvanize support behind the space in general. And it could be the ETF approval. That's something you got to watch out for. So I'm definitely going to be watching. Again, it's on the SEC website. You would just click regulation, and let me see. Yeah, you go to regulatory actions or regulation, and then SRO rulemaking, and then you come down and you find, where is it? NYSE ARCA. Click that, and then it should show up. Right, so again, crickets today, they have something from the 28th, but there's been nothing today. So I'm definitely going to be checking this page tomorrow, and I've got it set up on an RSS feed. So if any news comes out about it, I'm going to hear about it right away, and we'll see what happens. So again, I just want to make clear, just because we're coming to the end of this period of time, February 1st for Bitwise and February 6th for GBTC, doesn't mean they're going to approve it. Okay, they could approve it, they could postpone for another 45 days, or they could disapprove it. And so don't take anything that I'm saying here as an assumption or a decision to buy tomorrow or something like that at the open, because I have no idea what's going to happen, and I could end up being completely wrong about a lot of this stuff. And so This is why it's important to do your own research and to make decisions that you're willing to live with, to find out, to figure out what you have conviction in, and to put your money behind that. So anyway, that's my update on GBTC and just on the Bitcoin ETF in general, spot ETF. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys later this week.